Welcome to the Outback Way Podcast. This edition is sponsored by our guidebook, which is available from our website, outbackway.org.au. Welcome to the Outback Way Podcast. I am Helen Lewis. Buckle up as we take you on Australia's longest shortcut, a journey through the heart of Australia. Welcome to the Outback Way Podcast. This episode, we are talking with Mayor Rick Britton, who is the Mayor of Boulia in far western Queensland. Welcome, Rick, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Helen.
Great. So, Rick, you've been in Boulia a very long time. Tell us more about the history of Boulia itself, the town, and how it came to be where it is, because it's a long way from anywhere, really.
Well, it's amazing when you say where is Boulia. We've had relatives and friends, and they'll come out and visit, and when they go back in, they say, their friends say, where is Boulia? And they say, well, you know where Rockhampton is? And they say, yeah. They say, well, it's nowhere near that. But talking of Rocky, if you head west from Rockhampton and just keep travelling until you've given up, and then travel a little bit more. So we're directly west of Rocky, and then halfway between Mount Isa, the big mining city in the north of North Queensland, and Burzel, the famous Burzel Races. So if you get a ruler and line up Rocky and head west, and run Mount Isa and Burzel and run a ruler, you're just about where Boulia is. Yeah. So you're about 300 k's from Longreach, aren't you? No, 540. It's 540 from Longreach.
Yeah, 540.
And 300 kilometres Mount Isa is north of us, and Burzel is 400 kilometres south of us.
Yeah, great. Okay.
That's where we are, 240 kilometres off the Northern Territory border.
Yeah, wow. Good. Excellent. Well, thank you. And so what was how did actually Boulia get gazetted as a town, and why was it made a town? Do you know that history?
I think, not particularly, but, its history is we just celebrated the 60th year birthday of our new hall, of the old hall, and we've done a redevelopment of that. Boulia has been here for, over 100 years, and I think it first came out when the land was gazetted out, and then beef and sheep. Sheep were prominently the biggest opening of the Boulia Shire. There was sheep probably from Boulia all the way back up into the territory, up into the Barkly Tablelands. But now the Shire is prominently cattle, beef grazing, but it's all natural treeless plains and all natural grazing. Yeah,
wow. It's lovely. It's a lovely landscape, that's for sure. Beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's best that previous mayor that was here before, his comments were, there's nothing to see out here, but you've actually got to come and see it. Because people, it's very awing when you come out into this really open downs country and treeless Mitchell grass plains. It is probably daunting on some people. If I know myself, when I go back in towards Longreach and Emerald and all that timbered country, in there, it's daunting for me. So I can just imagine someone coming from an inner city suburb and then coming out to here and exploring, and you can just, the vastness of the sky. I don't think they realise how big the sky actually is until they come out and have a look at it.
And that whole notion of being able to see from horizon to horizon, like you actually see horizon all the way around you. And it's amazing,
like, in winter mornings here, we've got hills and landscapes in our Shire, and they can be 70 to 80 kilometres away, and they actually come up out of the horizon, and you swear that they're only 40 or 50 kilometres, but they're actually 80 to 100 kilometres away. So that's how vast you can see. And the sunsets and the sunrises, as much as Namatjira could paint this country, you've still actually got to see it with your own eyes. A camera cannot do it justice.
No, that's right. I know. It's very hard to capture those sort of beautiful settings. With a camera. It certainly has to be seen to be believed. That's great.
Exactly.
Yeah, very good.
Yep.
And so your family connection with Boulia, it goes back a little while?
I'm fifth generation. My dad was born in Boulia, and his mother was born in Boulia. So we class ourselves as nearly locals. We're probably our family were always working where the Hamilton Hotel, which is no longer there, it's 77 kilometres on the Winton Boulia Road out of Boulia. My grandmother actually lived there for 51 years. My great-grandmother is actually buried on the dam bank there. That's a story on its own because she passed away and it was a flood, and they had to get permission to put her there down there, and that's her gravesite is up on the actual old dam bank at the Hamilton Hotel. So, yeah, we do have that connection, and I sort of haven't travelled a lot worldwide, but I do, as my role as mayor, travel probably around Australia, and coming home is always a relief for me. I just love coming home.
Yeah, no, home's a great spot. Yeah, that's excellent. Particularly where you live. It's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Very good. And as mayor, what do you? You've been mayor for at least 3 terms, I think. Have you? You've been. Yeah,
I got elected. Yeah, I've elected as a councillor in 2008, and then got elected as mayor in 2009. This is now my 3rd term as mayor, and I still love the job. It's just advocating what we have to both state and federal governments, and the potential that we've got out here, and particularly in the natural grazing industry, natural beef grazing. I think this country is organic by default. We've gone down that, and we're going down that road of organic grazing, and
it's great.
I think it has got so much potential for what is the world is starting to demand.
Yeah, absolutely, and why not back to your strengths and use the natural assets as you can in regards to that. I think that's it's ideal for that organic meat market. It's excellent. Yeah,
it is, and it stands out because there's large pastoral companies and family operations out there here. They've been operating in the Boulia Shire for over 100 years. So if you look at that, probably more kilos of beef would be produced now within the Shire, and there would be more ecosystem with all those watering points that have been put in place. And you look at a sustainable industry, you don't stay in a business for 100 years if you're not sustainable.
That's right. I mean, and ultimately the sustainability or ability to have longevity in pastoral industry is the ability to look after your environment. It's a critical element. Otherwise, you don't have a business.
Exactly, and that's in these families' best interest, and that's where that's why they're successful, is looking after an environment that's around them so they can keep operating. Yeah,
that's right, and that inherent knowledge of the landscape and what it needs when it needs it, I think is the uniqueness and the excellent skill that our the pastoralists in those broad acre areas and large land areas have that can't be underestimated. So I think it's an exceptional industry for Queensland and all over Australia. Yeah, that's great.
Exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. The attractions in Boulia, what sort of attractions have Boulia got to offer people when they come to visit?
Well, it's a mix of everything. As you drive into Boulia, coming from the Winton side of it, you cross over the Burke Bridge. At the moment, we're very lucky that waterhole there is full, and you drive up into the massive green medium strips. It's still the big old wide streets with the medium strip right up. There's gardens, flower gardens, and all those on the main street and in the medium. The attractions is the modern day now Min encounter, which tells the story of what Boulia is famous for, the famous Min light, a mysterious light that to this day is still not solved. There's lots of stories around there and theories of what it is. So if you find the time to go through there for a 45-minute show, there's different stories there of the theory of what people think it is. So it's a mystery. We then have the Stonehouse Museum up there has got the history of a house and the first families that come to Boulia. We also have world-renowned dinosaurs, and these are sea-bearing animals. I think there's only one found in that we actually have that in there. There's an old house there that has now got all hospital artefacts and all the tools and how it put this country here today, how they had to use and the story of what was life here without electricity and those pioneering families and how they lived and survived and thrived in this country.
Yeah, that's great. And have you seen the Midland Lights?
Well, I think I might have by accident, and I didn't realise it, but my wife and I and family were living at Lucknow, which is a property that we've owned. We were there one night having tea, and we seen a light coming towards where the neighbours thought with the neighbour's property, and we thought, oh well, we'll put the billy on. They'll be here for a cup of coffee and a cup of tea, and we waited an hour, and they never turned up. So we retired and got up in the morning and rang them, and they weren't there. They were in Cloncurry. So, and there's only one road out of that property, and they weren't there. And we thought, well, maybe it was a Midland Light. So, but yeah, my grandmother tells the story of it, and it's a mystery light, and I don't think it's got any meanness of it, because Aboriginal people are very curious people, and they don't tell the story in any harm's way. So I think it's just a light, and up to today is still unexplainable, and heaps of theories around. So you've got to come out.
Coming out to
see if you can have a look.
Come out and see if you can find it. Yeah, see if you can see it.
Oh well, I suppose folklore is you don't find the Midland Light; it finds you.
That's right. Yes, that's it. That's right. Yeah.
So and the Wine Main Street, council spends a lot of time on presenting that to the tourists and to the people. And it's not for it's more for the locals as well. We live in a 9.5-inch rainfall landscape. Droughts are pretty an annual event out here, you could say. But we still produce beef in a clean, environmental way. But we do get dry, and I think that's what council is. If you have that beautiful presentation of green lawns and looking presentable to town, when those people do come in from their properties, it gives them that relaxing and say, well, look how good and appreciated this is, and it really does help them stressing with the dry times that we do have.
Yeah, that's very important. Yes, that's right. They always say the last water you should use on your property is the lawn around the house.
Yeah.
To keep
and it is. Yes. It really does. And I know myself, it works on that. We have a lawn around our homestead, and you're working in a dry environment. You drive into town and you see that beautiful medium strip up the middle of town. It really does take the weight off your shoulders. Yeah,
I agree. I think and Boulia is a beautiful little town with very well looked after. It's always looks immaculate. So yeah, well done. It's great. The Plesiosaurus in the Stonehouse is a complete fossil, which is quite extraordinary, and it links. You can move from Winton with all the land fossils, and then you move through to Boulia, which you've actually got the inland, a replica, an example of the inland sea that was, and then you can go through to Alice Springs, where they've got the species of the wombat, the very, very large wombat, the cow-sized wombat that they found on Alkuta Station, which is actually now in their museum at the Araluen Arts Centre. And I just think it's a wonderful trip for kids who are into dinosaurs and fossils. There's this amazing track that people can do now from Winton all the way through to Alice Springs, and just actually charting the course of history and the change in our landscape over millions of years. And it's a really interesting part of, I think, what the Outback Way has to offer in regards to linking up all that fossil history for the nation. So yeah, it's very good that Boulia has actually been able to unpack that fossil and put it on display. It's fantastic.
And that's one of the privileges that we have of the Dick Suter that was out here, and that was his life ambition, was to find those sorts of things, and did come up with that find. But that's right, as with families and children, I just love their imagination. You leave Winton, you're coming from Middleton, and you look at all these hills that you'll see and that we have in our areas, and you see all the flat tops and whatever. Well, that is just where the sea actually wore those down. That's why the tops of those hills are flat. So, it actually, when you're driving through just before Middleton there, these massive big landscapes of hills there that are flat tops, you're actually underwater at the bottom of the inland sea. You close your eyes and just imagine that, and then when you get to Boulia, you see this mighty animal that we've got here. Picture that floating around past you and stuff like that. So, it's for the children with dinosaurs and adults. I mean, it still inspires me, those massive big animals wandering over this landscape so many millions of years ago, how it would have been, it would have been inspiring, I can tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible. So in addition to all those lovely attractions Boulia has, there's also various events in town. So what's the major events you've got going on in Boulia throughout the year?
Okay, well, normally in April, Easter weekend, April, we have Rodeo, Campdraft and Rodeo, Campdraft and Horse Racing. The racecourse reserve at Boulia has been developed so that we can hold all these events at the one place. You don't have to have different visiting areas or development all over the place. It's all at one place. There's camping and sites and toilets and everything that you need to hold an event. And where that come into, like, that was the major events of Boulia, was the races, the rodeo, and the campdrafting in a rural town. And then it's been 20 plus years now, and someone thought, well, how about we start racing camels? So it has probably put Boulia in that next spotlight. Boulia now is renowned for the Melbourne Cup of Camel Racing. And using that facility is, the people who thought of those ideas, because of the previous councils and future and previous community people, they developed this large area out there and created it, and they had the capacity to hold such a massive event. Between 4 to 5, up to 7,000 people have been known to come to the Camel Races event. It's a massive event.
Great.
It's actually now tied in with you have the Baduri Camel Races one weekend, then the Boulia, and then you go through to Winton, and then they carry on down into eastern Queensland. And the people from Victoria, South Australia, and across from the Territory actually bring their camels to race here. So it's a very professional run event. Still massive entertainment in between the races. So, and they're taking it to the next standard now, where having fashions of the fields and all that, and really tying up where horse racing has, and taking that camel racing to the next level. And that's probably a major event in Boulia, and it really does help the community. Yes,
that's right. Yeah, lots of flow of the dollars, which is very important for small communities. That's excellent. The race circuit seems to be growing, because I know that Alice Springs also has a Camel Cup also in July. So it's certainly the time of year for the camel races to happen everywhere.
And it is, and that's the great thing of these communities out here, is working together so you can link it all up and get those people to come in and stuff like that. So like Burrsville now. They're holding the Big Red Bash and the famous Burrsville races. You've got Winton with the Way Out West event now, and the Vision Splendid events. So all those things that, whatever community holds that, other townships and communities can say, oh, well, we're out here now doing the Vision Splendid in Winton. Why don't we slip over to Boulia and see what they've got? Or, when the Big Red Bash and Burrsville, let's come on home through Boulia and all those sort of things. So it's up then to communities and our business to log on and to pigtail off of those. And I think that those events right across is helping Central Queensland in itself, and really putting probably Queensland and Western Queensland on the map to say, well, we're just not droughts and arid and landscape and cattle and sheep. There's a lot of other events out here for a social, it's a social event. I mean, I get comments in Boulia is, we can't attend every event in town. That's just so that if you come in, there's something usually on or happening in Boulia or within our region.
Yeah, that for someone to say that means that there's obviously a lot going on, and then obviously that would be a varied group of events. But that's terrific that there's just so much activity. I think it's also very good because, as you're saying, the dry and reasonably isolated. Besides, people have got internet and things now, but I mean socially connected. And just having a suite of events for people and locals to be involved in is so important for just headspace and just being part of the community. So that whole community feel is so valuable for people in country areas and outback Queensland.
And those people that are travelling, if they do attend an event out here, they actually connect with the locals. If there's not a lot happening out here, we have the tourists come through and they're visiting and they sort of just look at the sites and that's it, and they connect with people that are operating them. But if you attend events, you're actually talking and getting a story from a local, and they can tell the story so well of why they live here, and you have so many people out in these regions. Oh yeah, I only come out here for 6 weeks to do a job for a mate, and now I've been here for 10 years. So it's those things that really draw people in. They think, oh, there's nothing to see out here, but when they turn up, they just instantly fall in love with the area.
Yeah, that's it. There's a lot of those stories how people just seem to turn up and only for a short time, but end up a lifetime. And on the best, and I suppose one of the things that I look at is, if you live in Boulia, you're just not a rate number. You're actually part of our community, and you get involved, and you have your own personality. You're just not a rate person living in a street in downtown Brisbane. Out here, and this is the privilege of being in local government, the mayor. I don't think there's be a person in Boulia that I would not know. Yes, that's right. That's great. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the privilege of having the role.
Yeah, it is. It really is. That's right. Fantastic. Now, so the future of Boulia. How do you see the future of Boulia playing out? And what developments are happening, or what do you want to see happen with Boulia?
Well, for the thanks of the Outback Way, Outback Way Development Group now has been operating. We celebrated 20th birthday last year. A vision of just a road through the centre of Australia to where it is today, and the commitment that we're getting now from state and federal governments. The future of Boulia is sealing the road through the centre of Australia, so you can travel from Cairns to Perth, or from the eastern seaboard to the western seaboard, through the centre of Australia, to have a look at really what does make Australia, the uniqueness, the vastness of it all. It's still inspiring with myself. Like, I'm used to big distance and landscapes, and when you get to Boulia and think, well, you're not even halfway through to Perth. That's how big our country is, and people on the eastern seaboards and in large metropolitan, our city areas, they really need to come out here to have that connectivity with the bush. And I think the Outback Highway will do that, and the Outback Highway development will really open up Boulia with the through traffic that'll come through. We're in the process now of allocating more land, because we can just see that motels, tourism sites, caravan parks and all those things are paramount to deliver the services that we will get with those people coming through to see this vast inland area.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm.
No, it's our growth. It's our future is the Outback Highway.
Yeah, that's right. That's great. And I guess also there's some other potential other industries developing, or the growth of the cattle industry. And is there any mining developments around Boulia, or gas, or?
Well, there is. We're getting that. It's coming now. The downturn in the mining probably put a bit of a damper, but all this country, there's been stories that Mount Isa and Broken Hill down in New South Wales are all linked. All this area is rich in minerals, so it's just a matter with technology coming through in the mining industry, how they can extract that without affecting the environment and all those sorts of things. So, in the beef industry, Seal Road, there's a lot of cross-border trading now between the Territory and Queensland. And with the modern day transport in the beef industry now, we have droughts. So, you can purchase cattle and trade cattle right through Australia. And, through the centre of Australia, you're looking at big numbers through the centre of Australia, very unique for breeding and purchasing. And then you've got your eastern seaboards and those areas for finishing and processing. So there's a great partnership that could be developed, and sealing this road through here would really delivering that animal in a welfare state, a lot better condition. So I see a lot of potential for right across every aspects of businesses within the beef, tourism, traditional owners telling their stories. And if you want to keep a culture alive and thriving, you've got to tell your stories, and that'll give those people in Central Australia to tell their stories to the persons travelling through.
Absolutely. Well, no, that's great, Rick. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode, and we look forward to hearing how Boulia goes and how it's developing in future episodes, and also all the very best with your Boulia Camel Races, which is coming up on the third week in July. If the listeners want more information, they can call 4746 3386 for details about that. And we really thank you for your time, and we'll no doubt we'll chat again sometime in the future.
Thank you very much, Helen, for giving that opportunity. And the Camel Races, I suppose, are the paramount. And we've got a really good young team of people now that are taking that on board. It's modern. You can book online. You can do all these things now. So, it really, if you've got the time, please come out and support this great event. And actually, it supports a small, hard-working, young up-and-coming leaders of Boulia that are really stepped up to the plate and taken that to the next level. And it'll be really appreciated. The Boulia Shire and all its residents would appreciate a visit, so we can show you our vastness and the beautifulness that we have out here. Yeah,
that's great. Thanks, Rick, so much for your time. And we'll and to all the listeners, until next episode, please travel safely, and we'll be in touch next week. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you for tuning into the Outback Way podcast. Our notes and links will be on our website, outbackway.org.au. You can subscribe to our newsletter, buy our guidebook, and download the app if you haven't already. Please join us on Facebook, Outback Way, Australia's longest shortcut, and on Twitter at Outback Way 1. The Outback Way podcast is all about your trip. We're really trying to make it easier for you and give you valuable information to make it more enjoyable. So we'd love your feedback. Send your questions, comments, and travel stories to info@outbackway.org.au. And if you share your story, we may even feature you on this podcast. Thank you for joining us through the heart of Australia on Australia's longest shortcut. Cheers for now.